Now, my friend, we are in the book of Matthew, and to be honest, if there was a place I was going to get stuck, I wouldn't have expected it to be the New Testament. I mean, somewhere in the Old Testament, maybe halfway through the year, maybe, but we're almost at the end of the year, and we have just, November and December left, and a little bit left of October to finish up the New Testament. And there's a lot here to cover, and I really can't cover every single detail, so I gotta stop trying to cover every single detail. As an instructor of the Word, as a teacher of the Word, I should be able to just bring forth what we need to get the basic overview of the Bible, of the books that are in the Bible. As we've already done from Genesis to Malachi, and now we're in the book of Matthew in the New Testament. We started with chapters 1 to 4. Now we're going to just jump into chapter 5, 6, and 7. All cover a period of time where Jesus was on the Mount preaching to his disciples. It's considered the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount. Even though it really was more like instructions to his disciples. It says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up onto the mountain. And after he sat down, his disciples came to him. He opened his mouth and began to teach them. So the whole message there is for us. It's for us believers who are already his disciples, his followers. It's our training ground, basically. Starts out with the, blessed are the poor, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the merciful, blessed are pure in heart, blessed are the peacemakers who reconcile relationships. God's all about reconciliation, all about relationships being restored. Rejoice and be glad, your reward is in heaven is great. Live so that you can be recognized as a light in the world, as a witness to God. You remember that Jesus is everlasting from the beginning. He just has no beginning. He's always been. He's the Son of God. He's God. And he's always been. So he's throughout the Old Testament. We saw him throughout the Old Testament. Now we see him in the New Testament revealed to us even more. And Matthew is very good at... Matthew himself was a tax collector. So he probably had penmanship skills, shorthand penmanship skills, so that he could take down long sermons of Jesus verbatim, basically. That's why it's so detailed what Jesus preached about on the Mount. And of course, truly I say to you, until heaven and earth has passed away, not the smallest letter or the stroke of the law will pass until it is all accomplished. He says, do not think that I came to abolish the law and the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Whoever annuls one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do so shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever keeps them and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So, teach his word. Teach his word. And follow him. The more we follow him, the more of his law will be fulfilled as we follow him, because he is the fulfillment of the law. And as followers of him, we should be following his law, his word, his truth. We can't pick and choose what our favorite parts are. We have to care about God and people. People and God. Love God, love people. Throughout this is what the main thrust of the law has always been, and his message in the New Testament as well. Guard your eyes, guard your heart, be honest, be sure, be forgiving. Even sinners, So he says even sinners love, So even more so should those who are following God, even more so. And then chapter 6, be humble. He wants our hearts to be real. See, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to stand and pray in the synagogues and on the street corners so they may be seen by men. Pray in secret. Go into your inner room and seek him. And then the great disciples' prayer, or the Lord's prayer, is Jesus couldn't pray it because it says, "Forgive us our debts, as we forgive others." Be forgiving and forgive, because forgiving is giving yourself freedom. Forgiveness is freedom. Non-forgiving is enslavement to yourself and to the person that you don't forgive. But a lot of times they don't even realize you don't forgive them. So forgiveness is a very, very important thing, as we've seen throughout the Bible, where Joseph and his brothers, he had to forgive them. And then many, many parables and stories Jesus talks about relating to forgiveness. Do not store up yourselves treasures in heaven, for there is where your heart will be also. No one can serve two masters. You cannot be equally divided. You will serve and you will worship someone or something. So keep in mind who you are focusing on and who you're trusting. Be confident that God is going to bless you and take care of you if you walk with Him. But you need to remember that that blessing is an eternal blessing. That the things that we do on earth have ramifications that go far beyond what we see and what we understand here. The experiences, the people that we touch, the lives that we touch and inspire and encourage, they will have an impact on others down the road. So have a broader view of what your purpose is here. You may not know what it is here. You may go through your entire lifetime and go pass away and then go to heaven and understand when you get there what it was all for. He may reveal moment by moment. He's going to reveal His purpose for you. It's not going to be one broad picture all at once, because our brain will just not be able to handle all that. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. Chapter 7, do not judge, so you will not be judged. We are our own worst judges. We are our own worst. It does say in the New Testament to judge somebody by their fruits and to examine the people in the congregation to make sure that there's not deceivers and con artists in there that are trying to lead you away from God. It is important that we understand the difference between being judgmental and correctly discerning and judging and in that. Because we need to discern our own hearts, figure out what God needs for what He wants us to do. And that's where chapter 7 verse 7 comes in. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. Everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. So seek Him and love one another. Treat people the same way you want them to treat you. I love encouraging people, I love inspiring people, and I love praising people because I want to be treated in the same way. We all want to be encouraged, we all want to be inspired, we all want to be told that we're doing a good job, we want to be told that we're doing well, and we want to know that we're having a positive impact on somebody else's life and on somebody else's heart. Beware of false prophets who come in as sheep in clothing and inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor figs from thistles. So, we bear who we are. The good tree produces good fruit. Who we are, the fruit of our lives, our salvation that we already have will bear good fruit. It's not that we do good works to be saved, it's that those good works come out of being saved. You love your spouse, so you do good things for them. You don't do good things for them so that you can that you can be married. The things you do because you love your wife or husband or your friend or family is because you are already in that relationship. So by being there, do these things from that. And chapter 7 verse 28, when Jesus had finished these words, the crowds were amazed at His teaching. So others had gathered around the disciples. So while Jesus was teaching His disciples, of course He's outside, so others started to come in too. But it's really a message specifically for us, the disciples, the followers of Christ that are in the fold, that are listening to Him. Chapter 8, Jesus came down from the mountain, large crowds followed Him. We had the first healing, very Jewish healing, a leper who is seeking His will. He said, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. And Jesus says, I am willing, and He cleans him. And, takes away his leprosy, which is it's a very Jewish healing. If you think about leprosy as a sign for sin in the Old Testament, throughout the Old Testament. The next healing is a Roman leader who understood that Jesus had the authority in the spiritual realm to... the Romans in that period, they understood a lot spiritual things. Like, they believed in gods and goddesses and all these other things, but they knew Jesus was someone different. Was able to... he said, you can heal my servant from here. Just say the word. And Jesus is like, wow. I haven't seen this kind of faith even Israel. You know, it's crazy. And there'll be Gentiles feasting at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. And then the last part of chapter 8 is Peter's mother-in-law is sick when Jesus arrives in the home, and he heals Peter's mother-in-law. So we do know Peter's married. And as the response to being healed is she gets up and serves, which is another prophecy being fulfilled that Jesus continues to heal. And then there's more in the end of chapter 8. The man that he heals wants to follow after Jesus, and Jesus says, the foxes have holes, the birds have nests, and the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And the other one that wanted to follow Jesus, and Jesus said, let the dead bury their own dead. And he gets into a boat and crosses the sea, and there's the waves and the wind, and it's just so much in there. There's our faith being rocked by the dark waves, the dark storm that's coming. And he gets into the graveyard and heals the demon-possessed men. And then, of course, the whole city was like, no, we don't want you here. But the main thrust here is those chapters 5, 6, and 7, that we follow after God's word because we are His sheep. So study the word, study Matthew, continue studying through, and we'll continue on in the next video. Thank you, my friend.